What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for listening. I wanted to put this in the top of the show. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/Brennan Tassif. Check out the merch store at BrennanTComedy.com to get your ex-drinking buddy merch. Subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. As always, we're coming to you live from Gotham Production Studios, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Grab me a beer and grab me a coke. We bout to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brennan T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. I am your host, Brennan Tassif. If you're new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everybody's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do, hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those crazy stories. I am sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do, hang out with someone and reminisce about the crazy old days. Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, Zach DiDonato.
Hey, what up, everybody? How we doing?
What's up, man?
Dude, not much. Just supposed to be at work right now, so
Well, work from home.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't. Work from home is probably the best thing ever invented. So
It's awesome because that has saved me with a lot of episodes.
so many.
Because Gotham, I love the studio. This is my favorite place to do it.
Yeah.
But they're 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. So like a lot of people who work day jobs and also do comedy, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, how do you feel about calling in sick for a few hours?
That's what. Yeah.
And people will do it because exposure, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Here's a hack for some people. You probably already do this, but if you're on like WebEx or Slack, just put your phone on never sleep mode. Leave it open, charge it. Your boss will never know. Okay?
Oh, because it sees when it's active.
You'll
and
have the
stuff?
little green bubble in the corner, and then your boss does never even expects.
Oh, that's super smart. So just put the display settings on never sleep.
Never sleep. You're golden.
Wow.
That's what I've been doing. It's a play.
Fucking hacking. All right. Well, Zach, plug everything up front before we get too far into anything. Instagram, social media, any shows you have coming up, anything like that.
Yeah. I mean,
This will
follow me
come
on
out Monday.
Instagram. Zach_DiDonato. TikTok, same thing. Zach_DiDonato. Don't have huge following or anything like that. But I don't know how many listeners are from California. I'll be out in California
We got a few.
August 17th through the 23rd. I'm doing a show in Oakland on the 18th, and then I'm going down to LA doing a few shows out there, I think, on the 22nd.
Hell yeah.
So,
Well, shit, man. I'm glad you told me.
Yeah, it'll
I
be
got a
a
lot
lot
of
of
friends out there.
hell yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I wanted to have you on. You have had an interesting journey compared to some of my other guests, just as far as like comedy and things like that, because you were doing other stuff before you got into comedy. So I want the listeners to kind of get to know you. You're not originally from New York, correct?
No, I grew up in San Francisco. So
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
going
because
back to visit
that's what I
friends.
thought. You were from, So how did you end up in New York? Like, how did you even get here? Because I know you played college soccer.
Yeah, played some soccer. So I
To quote the town when he shoots the guy in the leg, there goes college soccer.
exactly. So I grew up in the Bay Area, a small town outside of San Francisco, and then just grew up playing soccer there. Actually, after high school, I went to Italy because I was pretty young.
Were you that good at soccer to play professionally? Because you talked about this on stage, and that was a big thing where I was like, oh shit, like that's awesome.
I was good enough to play in Italy's like 4th division because they have like probably 8 divisions.
Okay, because I
and
know it's
so-
the same thing. Anybody who watched Welcome to Wrexham knows all about the tiers and stuff
Yeah.
for English soccer.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in Italy. And
It's fairly similar. English soccer is a little bit more brutal, but so my family's Italian, so I was like, all right, let's go to Italy. I'm
was
young.
this at 18? Like right
This
after high
was-
school?
Yeah, I was actually 17. So I graduated high school at 17, so I took
Okay.
a gap year. And so I went out to Italy, and I was there for about
So many
like
questions.
8 months. Yeah.
Did you go, you said a gap year. Did you go to Italy because you're like, oh, my family's Italian and I want to check out Italy and maybe I'll play soccer? Or were you recruited by a team in Italy and then you're like, oh, well, I'll go play?
Yeah, so how it worked out, so I guess how soccer youth works out in the U.S. is there's academy teams, and then every year in Tampa, Florida,
Gang,
they
gang.
have a tournament, a development academy tournament, and so this is where it's like all the MLS teams have academies, and then there's also other academies around, and so I played for one out in California. We went out to Florida, and this was my senior year. I was still 17, and some scouts from Italy. It was like a youth academy out in Italy. It wasn't affiliated with any teams, but
Okay.
they were pretty tied close to Perugia, which is a second division team in Italy. But I was young. I didn't want to go to college yet. I was looking at some colleges, but I didn't, like.
Were you being
anything I had.
recruited
Yeah.
for soccer for college?
Yeah, but it wasn't teams that I was super interested in.
Yeah.
And I felt like I still needed a year because for soccer, it's like, so people don't get for basketball. If you're like a top talent, they're gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, like they've seen you, they've seen your AAU clips, whatever it may be. For soccer, it's not like that. We're not like a soccer country,
Yeah.
And so they
Yeah, because that's the same thing in the South for football, because football's king in the South.
yeah.
So like if you're good enough, like scouts will hear about you.
Yeah, exactly.
We had one guy on our team who was fucking awesome, Jeremy Campbell, and I remember he was like, we had like Clemson and Florida State like showing up, and
Yeah.
we're like everyone else is looking around like,
Yeah.
time to shine, baby. Let's turn it on.
Yeah, everybody. That's always all the other players are like, this guy thinks he's getting recruited. Check me out. Yeah. You're like sitting on the bench.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Watch this board drill.
Yeah, coach. You see that one? Yeah. But
So then you obviously you decide like, hey, I don't want to go to college just yet. I want to take some time, and then you're like, okay, let's go try Italy.
yeah. So you have to reach out to a lot of the coaches
Yeah.
because they're not really looking at you. And so I was at this tournament. There was a Italian academy there called ISM, and they reached out to me after the tournament and was like, hey, we do this program in Italy, or you can come stay for I think I was there for like 8 months. And
What
then
position did you play in soccer?
I played center back or outside back. So I played center defender or on the outside. And so went out to Italy. I was there for 8 months, and you play against other, 4th, 5th division teams, some 3rd division, but they're really good. And all of our guys are like 18, 19, 20, 21 maybe.
Yeah.
And they're from all around the country. Like half of the teammates didn't speak English. Some of them did. And
Do you speak Italian?
I did because I took Italian all through high school.
Okay.
And I mean, I've lost a lot of it now, but
But you knew enough to survive.
oh yeah, definitely.
I say that all the time. If I got dropped in the middle of Mexico, I could get out.
You
Like
can
I
get
know
by.
enough Spanish where I'd be all right.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get by. And we were also taking classes there. But so we would, on the weekends, we would travel to other parts of Italy to play teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the week, we had practice every day and then class. And then about halfway through,
When you say class, what do you mean?
just 3 hours of Italian class.
Okay, so just to learn. Okay,
Because you have like Argentinians, Brazilian kids,
Yeah.
Russian, like from
nobody
everywhere.
speaks Italian.
0 people speak Italian. And so you're communicating with like mostly your hands.
Yeah,
Because they don't understand like what's
Yeah.
happening. There was a few Americans there, kid from Mexico. But yeah, so we had class all through the week, and then we would practice all week, and then we'd play teams on the weekends. And you're playing against like full-grown dads.
yeah,
And
like
then,
men.
Yeah, it's like 4th division teams, 5th division, 3rd division. And then
These guys still think they're getting a call from
Yeah.
like.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of a big Italian team.
They're getting paid still, but it's nothing
Yeah,
crazy. It's like what, $100 a game, which isn't bad. If you have another job, it's not
Yeah.
terrible. And
I mean, shit. If someone was going to offer me $100 a show, I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, let's do
That's
it."
what I'm saying. Exactly. And so we'd play against these teams, and if you did well enough in the games, their coach would call our coach and be like, "Hey, send this kid to our practice."
Because it's an academy.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, that's kind of a lot of the kids were. I knew I was going back to college, but I didn't know. My mom did. But so yeah, you hear from your coach and whatnot, and a lot of kids ended up staying.
Did you get calls about you?
Yeah, there was a team there was a smaller team within Perugia, which is a town we stayed in. It was called Tavernelle. And it was
Tavernelle.
yeah, super Italian. And it was they liked young kids because they could
Yeah,
develop
they're
them.
Italian. Fucking
Yeah.
creeps.
That too, those priests, And so I got this offer from Tavernelle. I would go practice with them for a while, and then once I told them, I was like, look, I can't stay here.
Yeah, mom said
Mom's
I gotta.
like, you're
Mom
going.
said I gotta be back home.
Yeah. So, and this whole time I was also talking to coaches in the U.S.
Yeah.
I was talking to college coaches and whatnot. And then about halfway through, I had no idea, but this is like an experience that very few people have. So there's one spot and one coach that the North Korean national team Kim Jong-un will let the youth team go practice with, and it's this coach in Italy and happened to be in our town. So we would practice and play against them.
So Kim Jong Un,
Kim Jong-un.
the what do they call him? The magnificent dictator.
Yeah, the
or
man.
whatever they call him over there.
Yeah.
He lets his North Korean national team practice outside of North Korea with only one other team.
So it's the under 23s.
Yeah.
So it's not their full team, but these kids were the best players I've ever played against.
The North Koreans.
They were like
And you happened to play against them.
We played against
happenstance, it was you.
So that coach coached us and them.
Okay.
It was like because they would train in North Korea all year, and then like
So wait,
4 months out of the year.
The coach of the North Korean national team is an Italian coach?
No, he's a North Korean guy, but they know Italians are known for defending.
Okay.
And so they would bring that team over to this
Got
guy
it.
to
Okay, I'm
teach kind of a
tracking.
different
Yeah,
style of the game.
Yeah.
And then
I watched Ted Lasso. I'm with you.
Yeah, there you go. Great show. But yeah, so they would bring those guys over, and they already had a few guys that were training with like first division, second division team in Italy. That's how good they were.
Yeah.
And
So then how does this get set up? One day you guys wake up and they go, hey, for practice today, we're going to play the North Koreans under 23.
That's the thing is you had to be at a certain level
Yeah.
to play and practice with them. So we would have our team practice together, and the coach was like, "You're good enough to go train with these guys," they'd practice at a separate field, and you'd go train with them. And so
Did you train with them?
About like 2 months in, I worked my way into training with them, and
Was it ridiculous?
they were like 10 times better.
Yeah, it's a national team.
Yeah,
they're
they're
on the national team.
I couldn't touch them. It was insane, and that's when you realize too is like once you see these guys. Off the bat they hate Americans, so we got in fights every single practice.
Like actual fights?
Actual fights every
Fuck
single
yeah.
practice, dude. Like nothing.
You repped, right?
Every time, yeah.
Yeah, they're little.
Yeah, they're tiny guys, and so literally without a doubt, someone would make a remark about Kim Jong. Someone would make some type of remark to
Hey,
where
how's that
guy just-
butch lesbian that's running
Yeah.
your country?
Exactly.
Something like that. I mean,
Dude,
that's not how I feel, but I'm saying that's what
They all the same haircuts too, just bowl cuts.
an American playing Italian soccer would say.
Yeah, exactly. And they would
So, like, would you come to blows, like start throwing fists and stuff, or was it just like we'd get in each other's face and like hold me back?
we're soccer players. We kick.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but no, it was like studs. It was, and it's one of those things. I'm sure it happens in football. You have, you can take cheap shots and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And so there'd be a lot of that. In the
Yeah,
games,
I can
too.
imagine.
It's just fight.
Probably one of the craziest things I ever saw was, as far as fights, and this doesn't happen in soccer because you guys don't have like helmets and pads, but a defensive tackle. When I was in high school, this massive man so we were all on the sideline, and then there was a corner who's a lot smaller on a knee, like just watching practice. This defensive tackle walked up and put his dick on a shoulder pad, and he was like, "Hey, what's that?" And the corner turned and was like, "What the fuck?" The corner took his helmet and smashed the dude, because he couldn't fight the defensive tackle. He was like 3 times the size.
Yeah.
Smashed him across the head with his helmet.
Wait, this is mid-game?
No. This was in a practice, but like that's
damn.
probably as far as like cheap shots and fights and stuff. That's the crazy. Like there's fights all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, you hit someone in the dick while you're like
Yeah.
in the middle of practice or something.
That's
Or you
standard.
throw sand in somebody's eyes.
Yeah.
I've done that before playing on the defensive line.
Yeah.
As soon as they hike the ball, you toss sand up in the offensive lineman's face, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, swim move, hey."
Yeah. That's stuff you don't see.
yeah,
you
because-
have no idea what would be happening.
But the craziest like fight cheap shot thing I ever saw was this small corner took his helmet and just blasted the dude across it. And they're heavy. The helmets are heavy.
Yeah,
and we were all like, "Holy shit!"
Was this in college?
No, this was in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
dude.
I grew up outside Daytona. Gang, baby.
Jesus, man.
So you guys are getting in fights with the North Korea. How does it like? Do you guys ever win in practice? Like, do you ever get one over on them, or are they just dominating all the time?
Well, here's the thing. If they tried, we're not winning a game.
Yeah.
The thing is, they were so like lazy about it because it was like their time off essentially.
Yeah.
Right? They're in North Korea training hard all year, and this is like their vacation. So they wouldn't take practice super serious a lot of times. In the games, they would. But yeah, practice they didn't really. They would like chain smoke in the locker room. They didn't care like at all. But they were
awesome.
some of the best players I've seen in my life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they would, and that's when you notice the differences too of how they were brought up, because they had no idea what a cell phone was.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would be playing on your phone, you'd like take a picture. One of my
Yeah, because you're much younger than me, so you guys had like iPhones readily available at this time.
we had fully phones, and so yeah, they didn't know a lot of technology, and they didn't understand like the concept of a picture that
Yeah.
you could just like freeze an image. And so one of my friends like took a selfie with one of them, and the guy turns while he's taking the selfie and just grabs his phone and just throws it against the wall.
Because he had no idea.
He was like freaked out like what this thing was.
Wow.
Yeah, because they would just sit in the common room like when we weren't practicing and just play dominoes. Like nobody's on a phone, nothing.
No one knows about
No.
television or phones or anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy because you hear about it on the news. You're like, can't be that bad.
Yeah.
You get there and you're like, oh my god, these guys don't know.
Yeah, there's no internet. There's
Yeah.
no knowledge. There's no like
Literally
source
nothing.
of information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So then what does mom call the coach and say Zach needs to come home for dinner, or like what happens? How'd you end up getting back?
No, so so the season was ended in I think April it was,
Okay.
and then which means the college season for soccer your preseason generally starts in September, and I'd been talking to all these coaches and whatnot, so I had to come back and I had to play on a summer team here, Burlingame Dragons. They don't exist anymore, but it was a summer team, USL 2.
So wait, were you before the summer team? Are you like, because you're talking to coaches and stuff? Are you like aware, like, oh, I'm going to get a full ride, or like anything like that, or were you just like trying to make a team, like as a walk on? Like, what's that process like? Because
Yes.
you're on the other side of the world. It's not like you can show up for a tryout.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is so when you're talking to coaches out there, is one, they hear playing Italy, it pops up in their mind. Okay, this kid can actually play probably, and then the second one is immediately you send them tape. Mm-hmm. And so once they see the tape,
That's the trick I did with football.
yeah.
Because I took about a year off too, and I was sending film to all, because I didn't want to play D2. Like you were saying earlier, like all these random schools will be like, hey, do you want to
Yeah.
come play for us? And it's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah,
Actually, I
exactly.
don't want to.
At all.
So there was like these small D3 and
Yeah.
D2 schools that were like, hey, come play. And I was like, absolutely. So when I took some time off in between high school and college, I sent out 119 DVDs because
Jeez.
there's 119 D1 schools.
Oh, you had to mail them back then.
Yeah. You had to mail
that's
DVDs.
insane.
Bruh.
You're hustling.
Yeah. So my uncle and I got together. We put together like this cover letter and this whole thing and sent them all out. But it's the same kind of thing where, because I was from Florida and I played at 6A, which was the biggest district in Florida, was 6A. And my team that I was on had made the playoffs a couple times.
Yeah.
So saying I played for a 6A school that made the state playoffs every year in the state of Florida,
Yeah.
coaches, especially in like fucking, some of these other states are like,
Yeah.
oh, this kid can probably play because he's playing at the highest level. And
Florida's probably
high-
one of the best recruiting
that's what I'm.
states for
Yeah,
football, right?
Florida and California and Texas are the three best. I argue that Florida is the best.
Yeah.
And it's like half the size of the other two states, but we have more recruits come out of Florida. So that's the thing. It's like you send them a letter saying where you're from and where you played,
Yeah.
and then you send them a tape, and they're like, yeah, this guy, because you're
can-
playing against the hardest
Exactly.
competition
Yeah.
in the country.
So they know. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So it's the same kind of thing where they're like, all right, well, we can't see him in person, but
Yeah.
obviously. And I just lied. I was
Yeah,
like,
of
yeah,
course.
it was
You
all
have to.
state. Fucking,
Yeah, it's
of
fine.
course.
Yeah.
They're not going to check the
It's like your
newspaper.
resume. You're just like, yeah, I did this, this,
Yeah.
and this. All of it's slightly true. Maybe.
Yeah, it's all like,
Yeah.
you could argue it's true.
Yeah.
So then where did you end up going when you came back as far as to play?
So what happened was I been talking to coaches and we got a winter break. So I actually came home in December for about a month and then went back to Italy. But during that month, I went to ID camps
Okay.
because they usually, invite you to different ID camps. And,
What's an ID camp?
You just go play. It's probably 2 days on the weekend where you're probably playing 6 to 8 games.
Oh, so it's just
with other
soccer.
people. That's
Okay.
all it is, just to see who can actually play.
Who
and
can
what the
hang. Yeah,
competition
yeah.
is against.
I didn't realize there were so many, because in the college sports that I'm aware of from high school to college, it's you play well, you get recruited, and you go to college. Like I didn't realize there was this whole subgenre for soccer.
Yeah.
There's like camps and like
is
specialty
everything, yeah.
academies and all
Yeah.
this.
It's people don't understand that because we don't really care about soccer.
Well, yeah, but I mean, obviously some people care about soccer if
Yeah.
there's all this stuff going on for it.
Yeah, I mean now we're just sending guys to Europe, but we are.
I mean,
It's
yeah.
true, dude. I thought U.S. was on
Get a
the
little
come up.
closer on the mic.
I thought U.S. was on the come up for soccer, and then we bring Messi to the United States,
Yeah.
and he's still great, but he's out of his prime, and then he's just wrecking our players.
I know.
It's like, God damn it.
Dude, this was a thing during the World Cup. So I work with a lot of guys from Bangladesh, and
Yeah.
Argentina is like the Bangladeshi national team, basically. Like
Yeah.
they love Messi and
Really?
they love, yeah. And so I was talking so much. I was like, Messi's over the hill. Like at the
Yeah.
start of the World Cup, just talking so much
Yeah, you
shit.
have to.
And then everything that happens, and then he comes to Inter Miami. And now, like, a lot of the guys I work with are like, yeah, we're flying down to Miami to go watch Messi. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
And he's just destroying people.
I mean, his start couldn't have been better.
I know, like, to get called in on that penalty kick and
my
then just
God.
nail it and be
Yeah,
like,
tough
what's up?
94th. It's like,
I'm here.
Can't write that, Yeah.
So you're in this academy, and then I want to know how you end up getting to college.
So I eventually narrowed it down to 2 schools that I liked. Both I had gotten offers from. One of them was Santa Clara
Okay.
University in the Bay Area. They're extremely expensive. So
It's a private school?
yeah, it's a private school, so really, really expensive. It's probably like $60K a year or something. That's where Steve Nash went,
Oh, okay.
who also I play soccer with in the city now. He's a good player.
The Steve Nash?
The
Hall
Steve
of Fame,
Nash.
2-time MVP?
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns Steve Nash?
Yeah, he can play basketball and soccer. Boy can ball.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was like, this guy can't be like that good, you know. He was
So wait,
good.
you play soccer with him in the city?
Yeah, we have like a little sevens league down in LES that we play with, and his team's the best team because it's just him, and then he just recruits like ex MLS guys. It's like, all right, dude. Well, come
All
on,
these
dude.
ex like
Yeah.
fucking professional
US
athletes.
national team. I'm like, dude, come on. But
Well, if you can hang in that game, then you can hang.
yeah, they're also a little older, so they can't move as quickly. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because you're in your 20s. You're like, I'm going to smoke these
yeah,
fools.
yeah, that's the thing. So I can move, but they got to touch. So it's
Yeah.
like, you know. But yeah, so Santa Clara was one of the schools, and then the other school was Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo,
Okay.
and much public school, so a lot cheaper, and they had a great soccer culture because it was our football team was just hot garbage,
Yeah.
and so
So you're not getting recruited on a full ride, obviously.
no Santa Clara. If I was on a full ride, I
Yeah, that's what I was
probably
saying. Yeah.
But
So what is it like just putting all this effort into it and like not because I was a preferred walk on, so basically a partial scholarship where they
Yeah.
pay for like my books and my meal plan, but that's it. Like I'm still covering tuition and stuff. So I know the drive that I had to have to even go want to do it. So the reason I ask is because like you were saying earlier, like soccer is not one of these like so you're just like I want to fucking play. I want
Yeah.
to play in college and I'll do whatever I have to do to play in college.
yeah, essentially,
Okay.
because I didn't.
Damn, so you love soccer.
Yeah, I didn't start playing soccer until I was like 11 or 12, like really like getting
Yeah.
into it. And
And
actually-
you have to obviously be good at it if
yeah,
because nobody loves something like that. I mean, we know a couple comics that love comedy and they're not very good at it, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like if you're that
Exactly.
into something, you have to
Yeah.
be pretty good at it.
No, I was a good athlete growing up, and it was I was deciding between basketball and soccer. I like basketball a lot, but I kind of just soccer and basketball are same season. So
I was just thinking you should next time you see Steve, you should just be like after the game of sevens, just be like, "Hey man, you want to go ball?"
yeah, you try to hoop,
Yeah.
try to 1-on-1s, dude.
Hey, you me grab I was trying to think of a famous soccer player. Grab Tim Howard. We're gonna go play threes.
We'll go hoop.
We're gonna go play threes, dog.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was.
So you go to Cal Poly.
I ended up going to Cal Poly. It was the same thing. It was like a preferred walk-on
Yeah.
type thing. They offered me a spot and whatnot, but it wasn't a full ride by any means. The school wasn't crazy expensive because it was public, but yeah. Ended
And
up
you're
going
from
there.
California, so you got in-state tuition.
Yeah, in-state
Yeah.
tuition was huge.
I know people who just like want to go to a school in a different state.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend Tracy, her brother Jeff was like, "Oh, I just want to go to Michigan."
Yeah.
And they're from Massachusetts, and I go, "So wait, you just decided like didn't play sport, like not
Yeah.
like just wanted to go to?" I'm like,
Yeah.
out-of-state tuition for a school like a huge school like that has got to be crazy.
It's nuts.
And he's just like, yeah, that's just where I want to go. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, man, more
Yeah.
power to you. But that seems so bizarre to me coming from a state like Florida and you in California where it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
you have so many universities. It's like, I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah, you have all the universities in the world
Yeah.
in your state.
Yeah,
and
it's
they
like,
wanna
I'll
move
just
out. Yeah.
stay here.
Like, we had a bunch of kids from Colorado come to Cal Poly.
Like,
and
why?
It was like triple the tuition. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So expensive. Yeah.
It's the same degree.
Yeah, exactly.
It means the same thing.
But you don't realize that till you graduate. You're like, oh, this really doesn't
Didn't
mean too
work,
much.
yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing too is like, Cal Poly was miles ahead of my academic capabilities.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So
Yeah, because that's the school in Big Bang Theory. They work at Cal Poly.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
But it could be. But yeah, I mean, I remember the first party I went to there. This girl like brought up, what she got in high school SATs. She had like a 4.5, and I'm like, I got into the school with a 3.0 flat.
Oh, so her GPA was a 4.5?
4.5 out of high school. I'm like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't even add up.
I was,
you know?
I was in IB in high school, which is like the hardest curriculum you could take in the world. It's
Yeah.
an international program, and our classes are weighted out of 5.
Oh, okay.
So like regular classes are at a 4.
4, yeah.
I think AP is at a 4.5,
Something like that,
or maybe 5. Because the AP kids were always like, we're just as smart as the IB kids,
Yeah.
and I go, nah, we actually have a separate program. All of our classes are at a 5, not like AP English.
Yeah. Otherwise, AP and IB would be the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, so ours is at a 5. Like my brother graduated with like he kept failing French, but other than that, he was like getting A's and B's. So he graduated with like a 4.4 or 4.3 or something. And it's like,
that's
what the
sick.
fuck, man?
Yeah. mean, these kids are good.
My weighted GPA when I got out was like 3.1, and
Yeah,
that was
that's what I'm saying.
fully weighted.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
That's why I went to FAU and not University of Florida.
yeah, exactly.
So when you get to Cal Poly, are you just like soccer culture? Like, let's go?
Fully into soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Or
was.
you got the man bun and you're like not wearing a shirt?
I'm not that bad. Okay, I can't do man buns. I don't do those. But yeah. So I get there and immediately the classes were insanely hard. I mean, when you have to study for anthropology, you know it's like the rest of the curriculum's not going to go well.
This
you know,
isn't-
because that's like a not study class. You know, And so I was like, yeah, that was rough. But so got in. And the reason I chose the school is because there's a huge soccer culture. So
Yeah.
our game against UCSB is the top attended game in the country for college soccer. And so we're pulling like 10,000, 13,000. Probably nothing for football, but for soccer,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
a lot.
I mean,
you know?
that's I went to a small Division I school. We're right around those same numbers.
Yeah.
It's not like when we played Florida in the Swamp and they've got 105,000 people in there. You're like, oh, this is a little different.
Yeah.
Like we're both Division I schools in Florida. If we went undefeated, we could play for a national championship.
Yeah.
But this is a little different.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's what you realize is like it's so much. Even facilities too.
Yeah.
Like our facilities were nowhere near some
Our
of the-
facilities when I went there, they were pretty nice. But then when Lane Kiffin years later
Yeah.
took over our program and like fucking turned like, because Howard Schnellenberger, when I was there, we were really good.
Yeah.
And then when he retired, it kind of fell off the map.
Yeah.
And then when Lane Kiffin went there and rebuilt the program, all of a sudden now I go back and see some of these facilities and I'm like, damn.
Yeah. We played at FAU actually.
Yeah.
And they have like a whole roof.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
over
You were
their
like,
field. Yeah.
and I was like, man, I wish I was there when I was there.
Yeah, nuts.
So when you're playing you said it's UC, who were you playing?
So we play UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Which was about an hour.
Which is
from
not
us.
the same school you were looking at before. That
No.
was Santa.
That was Santa Clara. Yeah.
Got it.
All the
All the Saints.
schools in California.
All the Saints.
San Clemente, all of them are just, yeah. And so that was the one game we played them twice a year. And they'd pull 14,000 fans. And then we had this tradition where the fans would freeze tortillas. If you go on YouTube, you can look this up, and they would just throw them onto the field. So you're playing soccer, and there's just like you catch them in the air, fucking eat one mid game, and they would just be everywhere, right? And so the game was just absolutely nuts. And you'd get on the field, and it's like immediately you're getting heckled by the fans.
Oh yeah.
Because my sister went to UCSB, and so they
Little
immediately
older or younger?
older. So she ran track there, like 2 years older.
Just talking shit.
I mean, immediately, dude. I'm not on the field for 15 seconds. I mean, I fucked your sister. Like, it was, dude. Immediately, bro. Like, they just looked at my bio. Sister goes,
so
to
yeah. So they knew.
annihilated
Yeah,
me.
they're into it.
Yeah, so fun. But it's like the most fun game that you could be a part of in college
Yeah.
soccer. And so, yeah, it was the whole tradition of throwing. And that was one of the reasons I ended up choosing the school.
How long were you at Cal Poly for?
I was there for 2 years. So I did 2 years at Cal Poly, and then I ended up transferring. I had a bunch of injuries at Cal Poly, and then ended up transferring to Elon. But I remember one time it was the big game against UCSB, and I had just come off of an injury, so I wasn't gonna play.
Yeah.
And but I was sitting on the sideline, and at halftime, during halftime, you just go out on the field while the team's in the locker room, and you just kick around with your teammates that also aren't playing. And go back on whatever game finishes, and I get a DM after the game, and I was like, "Damn, you did a really good job playing today."
Really?
And I was like, "Dude, I played it halftime.
Yeah.
I didn't do a thing. I'm just on
Who
the
was
field."
the DM from?
I don't know, some chick at Cal Poly. I
Just-
don't
okay,
remember.
yeah.
But I was just like, "Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you came."
We were talking about this. I don't know if the mics were on or not, but we were talking about hanging at the stand and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll sit I'll sit at the table and get food, like where the comics sit.
Yeah.
But sometimes like I'll go there, and the hangs sometimes can fall apart. Like I'll go there and no one I know is there, so I'll
Yeah.
just end up sitting by myself. And it's so funny because when the shows clear out, because I look like a lot of other comics.
Yeah.
So even famous comics that I'm now friends with, when I first met them, they would always do like a double take because I
Yeah.
look like someone that they know.
Is that me?
Yeah. And so I'll sit out there, and then people will leave the showroom, and then they'll walk by and like just glance at me, and then they'll go like, "Oh, you were great."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not even past.
Thanks,
here.
man.
Yeah, I'm always just like, thanks. Don't forget Brennan T Comedy on all social media.
Just munching chicken tenders.
Yeah, I'm just like, what's up, dude?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's a weird feeling when people are like, you were awesome, and it's like, well,
yeah, you don't know what to say.
Yeah, I appreciate the compliment, but you're also not paying attention.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
anything.
Exactly.
So then, when you go to Elon, why do you transfer?
I transferred. I had so many. So at Cal Poly, what happened was I strained a disc in my back. And then I broke my foot from overtraining. I got a stress fracture, so I had to get a surgery on that. And then first game back against Gonzaga, 15 minutes in, broke my ankle.
Damn.
Had to get surgery for that. So by that time, I had maybe played 2 games.
Yeah.
Like I didn't play at all. And I was like, all right, this coach sees me as a guy that's just injury prone.
We talk about this a lot in comedy.
Yeah.
Starting in New York versus moving to New York. 'Cause
Exactly.
If you start in New York, a lot of times people always remember you as that person they saw at the open mic.
Yeah, I mean,
starting
it's
comedy.
the first.
It's a hard
time
thing
you
to
see him.
shake.
I
Yeah,
bet. You know, I bet.
And then if you come to New York, you know, you always want to, the first couple open mics you go to, you want to bring it a little bit.
Yeah, you want to do well.
So people know you know what you're doing. But yeah, I have that conversation with people all the time when they start in like a mat like LA or New York or Chicago. It's like, sometimes there's that roadblock where people only see you as, oh, that open micer that first started here.
Yeah.
And they can't get over that. So you're experiencing that at Cal Poly.
No, exactly.
You're like,
That's
oh,
exactly
I'm
what
the
it was.
injury prone guy.
Yeah. Do a lot of people go from New York to LA after like 5 years here?
No, I just meant more of like starting in smaller scenes. Like I started in Florida and then like moving to New York is I think better because then you can come with some fire versus people who grow up in New York and then they're like, oh, I want to start comedy and they start in New York. Like we see it. I mean, I know I see it sometime at mics where there's like New York kids who decide they want to do comedy and they'll come to some mics and I don't prejudice or like just this weird bias in my head, but like I never will forget them being that person who did
That's
their
true.
first open mic ever in New York.
Well, it's your first introduction to them, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's so. Like sometimes a lot of times they get better, but I still see them as like the guy who's like, oh,
Yeah,
so,
that's the
like
thing.
what's going on?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's like, oh, you're always going to be that little kid.
Yeah,
to
it
me.
is. Especially probably for club owners too. They see that.
Yeah, that's got to be a thing.
Yeah.
So for you, your coach, you think you have this now persona of the injury prone guy.
Yeah. I
you
feel like I
played
just
2
needed a
games in
reset.
2 years.
Yeah, I just needed a reset. My parents were moving out of California. It was too expensive, so they were going to retire in North Carolina.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I'll just look for a school out there. And so I hit up a few like NC State, Elon, a few other schools, and I ended up choosing
Elon is D2.
Elon's Division I still.
Oh, it is?
So-
Okay.
So we play like Hofstra, Northeastern. We're in the CAA division, and so I ended up transferring out there. It was I moved there probably in the spring season, so we had like a few in the spring season. Yeah, I'm sure you guys do this in fall too. You have spring games, like 5 or 6 spring games. Against,
Well,
like,
in football, we have one spring game.
oh, you have one.
Yeah, because it's a violent sport. So
That's
you
true.
only play
Yeah, you don't
one.
want injuries. But yeah, so I moved out there, and then I did 2 years at Elon. I didn't get injured at all, which was nice.
Did you end up starting by the end?
By senior year, I started most of the games. I would say.
Did you end up getting on scholarship by your senior year?
No, I didn't.
Damn it.
Yeah, it was still like preferred walk on
Yeah.
with some stuff paid for.
Can I be honest with you? I still get teared up when they do those videos.
Dude, I know.
When it's like,
Yeah.
coach calls a meeting. It's like, he'd be like, Brennan, get your ass over here.
Yeah.
I just want to say in front of the whole team that we're so proud of you and you're now on full scholarship. And
Yeah.
I'm always
Oh
like
my
watching
God,
those
dude.
videos like, he did it.
You did it. Good
He
for
did it.
Because you don't know what it's like coming from the bottom. and
Dude,
working your
we
way
know
up.
because
Yeah.
we've been there, but,
Exactly.
like,
yeah.
It's like, and it's always like their senior year, and some people are like, "Oh, well, he already paid for 3 years of college." It's like you don't
Yeah.
fucking understand,
Yeah.
like how much different your life is being, even on the team at a D1 school. The difference between basically being a practice squad guy versus
Yeah.
being a full scholarship guy.
Yeah. Plus,
Like,
you get like stipends for stuff. To
yeah,
spend.
and,
Like it just makes
off-campus housing. You
so
get
much less
and
stressful.
it's like. It's like one of those, and you get first dibs. Like the football team would always get first dibs on classes,
Yeah.
But the scholarship athletes got first dibs
First,
on the
yeah.
first dibs. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
they're taking like yoga, and
It's
you're like,
always-
"What? That's a class?"
Yeah, yeah. I remember at Elon they gave some of our football players scooters. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
bought them e-scooters. so
Yeah,
they
just
would
to get
run
around.
Campus, yeah.
So then you end up playing at Elon, and then you end up your senior year. You're like starting. Were you thinking about doing something with soccer after that, or like what was your kind of goal? Because I kind of want to piggyback all the way back to how you got to New York. So like, what was your thinking while you're at Elon?
Well,
Like as a senior, you like, I could do this. I'm
Yeah.
going back to Italy.
I mean, I could have probably played in some leagues within the U.S. and probably overseas. It would be lower leagues and whatnot. But like MLS is our top league, and then we have like USL Championship, USL 1.
Get the fuck out of it. There's
Yeah.
We have other leagues in the U.S.?
Oh yeah, we have an indoor, like it's nuts. And so I could have done that, but I was like, look, while I was injured, that's when I got really into comedy.
Okay.
And so while I was injured at Cal Poly, I don't have anything else to do. So I throw on podcasts, and then I would just learn about.
So yeah, because you came up, because you're 24?
Yeah.
Yeah, you came up in a time where podcasts were like a thing. So I first discovered podcasts in like 2010 before anyone knew what the fuck a podcast was.
Yeah.
So I was kind of into it from I've listened to like every episode of Your Mom's House. Like I've been there from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Like, yeah,
That's cool.
So it's like a weird thing. Same thing with like the Crab Feast and now the Honeydew and like Matt, my co-host for the other podcast, his podcast, like the Full Church Power Hour. All those I've like listened to every episode because I was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
So for you, getting into like, how do you even find it? This is what fascinates me. Like comedy is such and I've said this on like the last 7 episodes, but comedy is such a niche thing. So how does an attractive, like in shape soccer player find stand up? I couldn't practice. I couldn't work like my whole life. My mom ran track, my sister ran track. And so like fitness was a huge and also slept
part
with
of
a
our
bunch
life.
of guys at the other school. According to
Apparently,
them.
dude.
According to them.
News to me.
Just heckling. God,
Yeah.
dude,
The worst,
I'd
dude.
kill everybody if that was their heckle.
The absolute worst.
Because I've got 2 sisters. One of them's a twin. And if I've like when we played UCF, if everyone was just like,
Yeah.
I boned your sister, I'd be like, I'm
Oh
gonna
my
fucking
dude.
murder you.
Like get off this field, dude. Yeah. It's but yeah, I don't remember. I think probably the first podcast I listened to, I assume, was Rogan.
Okay.
And I think the first guy I heard outside of Rogan that he had on for comedy was Theo. And this was back when Theo didn't have This Past Weekend.
Yeah.
This is when Theo.
Back when Theo was like still starting out.
Yeah, maybe he had done like a few episodes of This Past Weekend, but it wasn't much.
Yeah.
And so then I got into all of his stuff. And
So this is, I'm sorry, I'm a stickler for the details though, because this is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times people, like I listen to podcasts sometimes and I just go, I don't like that guest, like I don't like that, or whatever. So you're listening to Rogan because you're like, oh, I need something to listen to.
Yeah.
This is the most popular podcast in the world. I'll listen to this.
yeah.
And then he has Theo on, and then you're listening to that, and then you're just like, oh, I like this guy. Like I connect with this guy.
Yeah.
Like this is funny.
Yeah, so I thought Theo was hilarious.
Yeah.
And so there was a few other
Yeah,
comics,
man.
and the man, and there's a few other comics. I'll read the bio, and it's like this comedian. So I was like, all right, this guy's a comedian. He has other comedians on for sure. And so I just looked at who else he had on. I would start listening to other comedians that he had.
So are
on
you
the pod.
watching stuff before this happens? Are you familiar with stand-up? Like, are you watching stuff on YouTube, or this is kind of your introduction to stand-up?
Well, that's the thing is like I talk to a lot of comics, and it's like, oh, one time I was on the way to the grocery store, and my mom happened to put on George Carlin's tape or Bill Burr's tape. That never happened.
Yeah,
so
that's why I'm so curious because it's like
never happened.
Your introduction to stand-up was through podcasting.
Was through 100%
That's nuts
through
to me,
Yeah,
man.
it's crazy because I hear all these people go that they listen to like old tapes and whatnot.
Dude, I used to. I'm 10 years older than you, but what I used to do is my cousin introduced me to stand-up when I was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He showed me Comedy Central Presents, and I used to record those episodes on VHS back in the day. Like you'd set the timer for 8 o'clock on Friday night, and I would record those, and then I would watch them over and over and over.
Yeah.
Dane Cook, Tom Rhodes, like
Yeah.
fucking all these, Mitch Hedberg, like all these comics from like 20 years ago, I was like obsessed with.
Yeah.
So that's how I found comedy.
Yeah.
So it's insane. And a lot of my guests have the same kind of story where it's like, yeah, my mom put on this or my dad loved that or whatever. It's insane to me that you found it on your own.
Yeah.
And not only found it on your own, but you found it through podcasting.
Yeah, it was I didn't really even watch stand up at all. Like I understood
just
they were
liked
comedians,
comics.
but I didn't I liked who they were.
Yeah.
And so then I started branching out to other podcasts. That's when around like Theo had The King and the Sting.
Yeah.
Which is no longer around, but I thought Theo was hilarious on that. And then, just a bunch of different comics I started listening to. So then what I started doing, I was like I'm probably not going to do stand up. I'm going to just put funny things I think of in my head in my notes
Yeah.
from 2019. And then,
So you had no intention of doing stand up. You're just like, oh, I'll just write this stuff down.
yeah, like in case the day comes.
And are you still on Elon? Are you still at Elon at this point?
No, this was at Cal Poly. It was still through all the
Okay.
injuries. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Oh yeah, because I'm sorry, you did mention that. I just when you said
Yeah.
2019, I was like, God, this guy's so young.
Yeah. This one was still at Cal Poly.
So you're just writing stuff in a notebook, but you're like, I'm never going to use it, but just in case.
Yeah,
I
I
wanna have
put it in my
yeah.
phone notes. I didn't even like title it. It wasn't titled comedy. It was just
Yeah.
like I wrote stuff down I thought was funny, and then in case one day I don't think it'll ever happen, and then
yeah, I'm so interested now to figure out how you got here.
so then I got like obsessed with podcasts. I mean, like listened to way too many.
Yeah.
Like when I first started listening to them, one or two or whatever, and then I would just do like 7 a day.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It was stupid.
I
right?
subscribe to like 12 podcasts.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
but
Dude,
you would just
I know.
rip
And I
them.
have 3.
Yeah.
I have 3 of my own, and I subscribe to like 12 others. So
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
in
See,
it.
so you're dedicated.
Yeah.
You know, and you just listen to it while you're cooking dinner.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Dude,
walking around.
that's why I love living in New York. I mean, it's the same thing in Florida. Whenever you're driving anywhere, just throw the podcast on.
Yeah.
I only listen to music at the gym now.
Yeah. Me too.
Because I
Same.
have to, because I'm fucking strong as shit.
Yeah. You're yoked.
And if you want to lift heavy, you got to listen to, little Slipknot, little
I agree.
Eminem, Kim,
Yeah.
just got to remember all the exes that, said they loved you and then left. You got
It's
to
the motivation.
hype
yeah.
it up.
I'm with you, dude.
But every other time, I always have my AirPods in, and it's always podcasts.
It's always podcasting.
Yeah.
And
So wait, have you done, since moving to New York, have you done a bunch of podcasts?
no, I've done none.
What? This is
Yeah.
your first
This is
one?
my first one. Yeah.
Look at
I
this,
haven't
man.
done-
The
I haven't
guy who
done
loves
any.
podcasts
Yeah,
is now
I
on a
love it.
podcast?
I was so excited, dude.
Dude, this
on my
is
way
fun.
here, I was skipping and shit. That's cool.
So we've got like 7,200 listeners, so this will be fun.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the analytics say, but I only have 1,500 followers, so I don't know
Yeah.
who to believe.
We're going with 7,200.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
come on.
if any of the sponsors reach out, I'll
Yeah.
send them that analytics.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you're super into it, you're taking notes, and then when do you get on stage for the first time?
I got on stage the first time in New York.
So, okay, let's talk about why you came to New York.
yeah. I got
Because
back
comedy wasn't your number one driving force to get to New York.
up. In the back of my head, it was.
Yeah.
In the back of my head, it was because I kept going on with the podcast, listening to
Yeah.
way too many a day, and I was just like,
And it is one of those things too where you can get lost in it. If you listen to a lot of comedy podcasts, you can kind of feel like, oh, I'm in this world.
Yeah.
Even though you've never been on
You've
stage,
never
but
done-
because you
yeah.
hear them talk about so
Exactly.
much, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I know this.
exactly, and so you feel like you're like these guys are your friends.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I was just talking to Matt about this
Yeah.
before because we just recorded an episode of Power How, and we were talking about how it's a one-sided conversation, but because that's how I am. Like, there's a lot of comics I've met that are pretty big comics,
Yeah.
and we are now friends.
Yeah.
Like, we are actually friends. Like, I'm not a psycho saying that.
Yeah.
Chris Buck, one of my good friends, is always like, you think you're friends with all these people. But we are out now actually friends, but I knew so much about them prior because
Yeah.
of listening, like Joe List. Like, I
Yeah.
knew so much about him from listening to different podcasts
Yeah.
and stuff. And then we became friends. So now if he like mentions a story, I'm like, yeah, dude, that was hilarious. And he's like, I've known you for like a year. How do you know that
Yeah.
story? It's like, I listen.
Yeah, I bet that happens to him. People just come up to him and
Oh,
tell
that
him
happens to
about,
all
like,
of
a
them.
childhood-
That happens to me.
Yeah,
and I'm not even famous.
Yeah.
But people I meet, like Tracy, my girlfriend, will like recommend my podcast to her friends.
Yeah.
And then we'll all be hanging out and they'll be like, oh, that's hilarious about X, Y, and Z. Because they'll go
Yeah.
back and listen to old episodes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I forgot I told that story.
That's interesting.
about snorting heroin.
Yeah. That's a good story, dude.
Yeah.
I gotta
It's
hear
a
that
great
sometime.
story.
Yeah.
So you're into all these podcasts and stuff. And so you didn't get up till you moved to New York. So how did you end up in New York? So you graduated from Elon.
Yeah.
What'd you major in?
I majored in business entrepreneurship. So
Okay.
smart as shit. But
Yeah, I went poli sci, and as our good friend Max Fine says, that'll you'll find a lot of grocery baggers
Yeah.
that have poli sci degrees.
no, exactly. Same thing with entrepreneurship. I made up, I swear.
So you graduate, and then you come to New York. Why do you come to New York?
So I had never been to New York before.
I was going to say, yeah, you North Carolina and
Yeah.
then California. So
I hadn't been once, but my family, my mom's from Philly, and so her family goes down to, like all of her brothers and sisters go down to Cape May, New Jersey,
okay,
which is at the very south tip of New Jersey. It's like a little beach town, and so during the summer, I just got a serving job down there.
Okay.
This place called the Lobster House and this place called Ugly Mug, and served there for the summer. And while I was there, I was like, New York's like 2.5 hour drive. I'm gonna do it. So I went there, had
so you just go do like a cool summer job, and you're like, yeah, we'll just have fun on the beach, like summertown.
Essentially, it was just a server. And
Yeah.
the girl I was dating at the time is from Connecticut, and so New York was like an hour for her.
Yeah.
And so we met in New York, super fun time. And then I went back, to New York again with my brother later in the summer, and I'm like, I'm moving here.
Oh, so you were just locked in.
Locked in.
That's the same thing that happened to me. I
Yeah.
thought it was going to be LA. For the
Me too.
longest time, I thought it was going to be LA.
too. Yeah.
And because I have some acting background and stuff, and I was like, it has to be LA. It's gonna. And I have a lot of friends in LA, so I was like, it has to be LA.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget. Savannah got me a trip to New York as a Christmas present, like the first Christmas we were dating, which was awesome. And as soon as we came out of the subway, because I used to have dreams about living in New York. Like, I don't even know
it's
why.
crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
I would imagine like being on the subway and like looking at all these tall buildings. I don't
Yeah.
know why my brain always did that. Maybe I always had these weird aspirations. As soon as we came up from the subway, I went, oh, it's New York.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't, I had not done anything comedy related. I had not done anything. Literally, Savannah and I just walked out of the subway and I go, oh, it's New York.
Yeah. It's real. And
we
you're
were here-
smiling the entire time, dude.
Within 2
Just
years,
cheesing.
obviously it was during the pandemic, but
Yeah.
within 2 years we were living here.
Yeah. It's
So-
just something about it. I don't know what it was.
So you
but-
come here twice and then you're like, oh, I'm moving to New York. Now,
I'm
what
moving
year
here.
is this? Because this has to be post-pandemic, right?
This is
Not too long ago,
Yeah,
right?
it's post pandemic because the restaurant was just starting to kind of get back.
Okay, so this is 2021?
Yeah. This is 2021. Yeah, this is the summer. No, this is summer 2020 maybe.
Okay. No, it's summer 2020. It was full-on pandemic.
Okay.
Because pandemic was March of 2020.
Yeah, maybe it was 2021.
So it's 2020. Because we were supposed to move April of 2020, and then we ended up moving July of 2021 because of the pandemic.
Okay.
So we'll
Yeah.
say 2021.
something like that. I don't even remember.
And then how do you get here?
And then so I went back to school to finish out. So since I transferred, my credits were all messed up.
Yeah.
So most people graduate in the spring. I was graduating in the fall.
Okay.
So I did my last season with Elon, and then got a job out in New York for a sales job. And
So you
then-
just immediately were like, New York's the place. I'm looking for jobs
immediately.
in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a job there, and then whatever fall semester ended December, and then I was in New York by February. Just drove down here with all my stuff.
2022.
Yeah, quickly found a place,
Boom.
and then lived in Hasidicville over in Brooklyn
Okay.
for I was there for about a year, and then now I live in Manhattan. But yeah, so that's how I ended up here.
Damn.
Yeah,
So when did you first get on stage?
I moved here February
Of 22.
22, and let's see, the day I moved, I think was February 10th. I got on stage February 12th.
So you were like, I'm here. I'm doing it.
Yeah, so
Fuck yeah, man.
So what I did was I checked out an open mic first.
Yeah. Which open mic was it? Do you remember?
It was at Tiny Cupboard,
Okay.
and this was I didn't know this at the time, but apparently it was just when open mics were kind of coming back. There still weren't too many.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
because I moved in
checked it out.
July of 21, so it was.
Yeah,
So that whole year it was weird.
exactly. And so people were telling me like we're just starting to get back at it, and then I went to an open mic, and that's when you realize it's like scary, but not that scary.
Yeah.
You know?
You see some of the people go up and you go, I can fucking do that.
Yeah, exactly.
hard.
And then I went to
And then you get up and you fucking.
eat it, dude.
Yeah. And you go, oh, that was a little more difficult than I thought it would
Yeah. And when you first get into comedy, you also don't know how much effort you have to put into it.
be. Yeah.
And so the
You
first,
think I'm just going to go up there and riff.
yeah, exactly. And I had I had some jokes kind of planned out. And so the next day after watching the open mic, I went to one, and I didn't know it was a feedback mic. And so I get there, dude, and I'm probably like fourth or fifth up or something.
I've been doing comedy 12 years and I still would not go to one of those.
I had no idea.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you didn't know, but it's like
No clue.
The second somebody wants to be like, why don't you write your own fucking joke?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I was just doing it. So I was like, you just want to learn.
And you also
Hey,
think
that's a
like,
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And God, because you didn't know you might have been like, oh, are all the mics like this?
Yeah.
Like this
I
is
had
terrible.
No idea. No clue. And it was also at Tiny Cupboard, but it was in the bottom room, and
Yeah.
they were doing a
The
feedback
church, yeah.
mic. And yeah, I went up there and I bombed so hard that people were like, I can't even give you feedback.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't. And then I started asking the audience questions because no one was asking me questions. I got nervous on stage. So I was like, how often do you guys do this? And this one guy was like, yeah, I get up like 20 sometimes a week. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man.
And so I had absolutely no idea that you were. And when you first start, you're super nervous to go
Yeah.
on stage for the first year.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And so, that kind of takes over. But once I was about 8 months into it, I ramped up the amount of times to get on stage because I knew that's what you had to do.
Yeah. You got to put in the reps.
Yeah, exactly. And I was never like a super talented soccer player. It was completely work ethic.
Yeah, same thing with me in football.
all it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you Because you also were doing modeling too. We were talking about this outside.
Yeah. So that was
Because I was looking at your Instagram and you have some of those like pictures where you're like, these are modeling, like because they're like that. You know, they're not like you with your buddies. It's like you and you're like smoldering at the can. And it's like, oh,
it's just from a shoot.
this fucking guy.
And
This fucking pretty guy.
I hate talking about it at comedy because people always like to bring it up. But
I have a whole bit about it. You know the bit. The listeners know the bit.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like
That's
these
true.
fucking models and actors look at the thing.
He's right though. Models and actors pull up and they're like, "I'm pretty to look at." They'll laugh.
They'll laugh at me.
Yeah. And
The worst part is when they're actually funny, and you're like, God damn it!
God damn, they got both.
Can I just have one thing?
Got both.
So, which is you. I mean, you're very pretty and you're also very funny, so
Thank
it
you.
works out. And I remember the first time I met you at a mic. I don't even think I met you. The first time I heard you talking at a mic before a mic, you go, yeah, it's always guys talking about how pretty I am.
Always.
And I was just like, I was going to say something, but I guess I'm not going to say anything.
There's never been a girl at a mic that's made a comment on my looks. Dude, it is always guys.
Yeah.
It is 100% guys. And guys will always tell you, oh, it must be really nice to look like that. You get all the ladies. But they don't understand. There's an entirely other demographic that's also into guys. Gay guys love to
Also, to that point, I'm a pretty funny individual. And you know what I've learned? If you can make them laugh, you can make them breakfast.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
There you go.
All right? So
it's a good way to put it.
back the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I got like a small agency in North Carolina.
How did this even happen?
My mom does hot yoga. Shout out Karen. And
What's up, Karen?
Karen DiDonato. And she does hot yoga. She had a photographer in the class. I went with a class with her one time, and the guy was like, "You should put him into modeling."
Okay, got
and
it.
then they connected me with like a smaller agency out there. And then I had enough work under my belt in North Carolina that when I came here, I could submit for things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so when I came here, I submitted to a few agencies. I ended up choosing one of them.
So you ended up getting an agency.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that in comedy.
No, not at all.
You don't.
No,
I didn't
no,
move to because I talk
Yeah.
about this all the time. But it's like I thought I was going to move to New York with a decade of comedy under my belt and be like in the podcast and be like, boy, oh boy, where's the
Yeah.
vice president of stand up comedy? I'm ready
Yeah.
to submit.
Who's coming to rep me?
And they
No.
were like, yeah, the open mics are that way. How
Yeah.
many followers? Yeah,
Get over
fucking
there.
Go.
Yeah.
Get out of here, you dirty.
That is
piece
true.
of shit.
Followers count a lot.
Yeah.
More than it should probably.
Well, it's interesting. I've talked about this ad nauseum, but when I first started comedy in 2009, I was like, oh, social media is a fad, and I never got into it. I never got into it until I moved to New York, and everyone's like, no, it's super important.
Yeah.
So I had 10 years of comedy under my belt. Never once was I posting anything or doing social
Yeah.
media about it, and now it's bitten me in the ass.
Yeah.
I have a decade of shit I could have been putting online.
And you just didn't
just
record. Yeah.
because I was like, no, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. In front of
my
real
material
audiences,
is for
yeah.
my material is for the audience.
No, 100%.
And now I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. It's annoying. Well, it's an interesting concept though of like whether you should be posting because it's like okay,
not
are you going for fame? You're going for like the art of being funny.
I've had this conversation with a lot of people who've been doing comedy even longer, much longer than I have.
Yeah.
Between Matt Fulcheron and Joe List and Emma Willman and Dan Lamort and I, we have this conversation all the time because it's like,
Yeah.
are you trying to get the material? The one person, and huge shout out, friend of the show, TJ Francis, the one person who was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to work on my stand-up.
Yeah.
Stopped recording his sets, stopped doing, like he still audio records so we can listen back
Yeah,
to it.
of course.
But stop filming, stop doing all that. He goes, I'm going to focus on my craft. And
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hats off to you,
Yeah.
bro, but I'm 35. I got to get this shit. I got
Yeah.
to get this shit now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know TJ too well, but I heard he's really funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh, I got tired of like recording, clipping, and like, oh, the laugh's not big enough, and this and that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was really eye opening when he told me. He was like, no, man, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna fucking do. How about I just do stand up?
Well, that's what you want to do. You
Yeah.
want to do stand up.
Dude, it's,
You know?
So how has your experience been with stand up? And then we got to get into some of the stories.
Yeah.
Because my sometimes people will text me and be like, all you do is talk about stand up.
Yeah. It's fun.
But how? Yeah, I know, I love it. How has your experience been so far? Because you're about a year in now. How has everything been?
Yeah, about a year, maybe like 5 months in, and dude, it's been. I mean, it's 100%. It's a journey, but the first 8 months, I would say, I was pretty frightened to go on stage, and then it started flipping where I started still being like you're nervous when you go on stage almost every single time, and it's
That
you
feeling
just-
doesn't go away.
Yeah, you just get up there, and sometimes
means you
it's
still
good.
care.
Yeah, it's honestly really good, and then 8 months in is when I started taking it really seriously and getting up as much as I can, and since then it's gotten on some shows. My friend and I are producing our own show, and so it's
Oh shit!
it's going well.
You didn't mention that.
Yeah, we're our show called Thin Crust Comedy. We had our first show 2 weeks ago,
How'd it go?
we're really good. Good turnout.
Good.
For our first show.
We'll put it in the show notes. So that
Yeah,
way people
yeah.
can
Come
link
through.
to
Our
it.
next show will probably be in mid-August. So come to that if you can. I'll be putting it on my social media, so you'll see it. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's
fucking-
been
you're
going
doing
well.
it, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of
Look
fun.
at this. You're on a fucking worldwide
Yeah.
podcast now.
It builds slowly, man. It builds slowly.
Who the fuck are you telling, man?
Yeah, it builds really slowly.
I wanted to talk to you because you did send me a couple of stories, and I kind of wanted to get into some of them. You had mentioned that you had never done a drug in your life.
Yeah, I don't never smoke weed, never done coke, none of that.
You've never
Yeah.
done a single drug in your life.
No. Well, I didn't drink till I was 20, and then I didn't. I drank
then
once,
again-
and then I didn't drink for another year.
So tell, because just a couple, so many things. Just on that one statement, we've got 3 things to talk about.
Yeah.
Why? So I've had people on the show, excuse me, and they've talked about addiction in their families, why they never touched drugs,
Yeah.
or even drank, or a combination of whatever.
Yeah.
They've seen friends destroy their lives, they've had friends or family die, or like just different things. For you, why was it that you never touched that stuff? Because I understand like the coke. I mean, I don't get it because I've done it all.
Yeah.
That. I've done coke, crack, heroin,
Just keep going.
snorted Roxy's,
Yeah.
Adderall, obviously, who hasn't? But for you, why, like, not even weed? Like,
Yeah.
that's insane to me because it's such a weed culture in New York,
Yeah.
especially. So why?
People always ask me this, and I
don't feel bad because as a sober person in a super secret organization that pertains to sobriety,
Yeah.
I don't feel bad asking because people ask me all the time,
Yeah.
and then I'm just like, oh, I've been arrested 8 times, and they go, oh, okay,
That makes sense.
But for you, like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask because I'm curious.
No, 100%. And people always ask me that, and it's not from family members. Like I have like a half white trash family, so it's like one half of the family's addicted to Percocets and drinks too much. The other half of the family's straight up clean.
Okay.
And honestly, I was just scared.
Yeah.
There's no other
So it
reason.
was fear.
Than, it's literally fear of I don't know what's going to happen to my brain.
Yeah.
And I just can't like let that go. I honestly have no good reason as
That's
to why
all.
I've
No,
never
that's
smoked.
That's a fucking great reason.
Yeah. I have no idea what's gonna. I mean, I've never not considered it.
Yeah.
But it's always here's the thing. I always like the only reason I would consider Adderall is because it's performance enhancing.
Yeah.
Anything that enhances my performance, I'd look into. But
Adderall's that's a dangerous thing to take before you get on stage.
oh,
just so
that's
you
what I
know.
heard.
It's you end up being like, so anyway, I was
Yeah.
what's that? What? Bah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's similar to coke. Like when I
Yeah.
used to do coke, I used to have friends that would come up to the stage and go, slow down.
yeah.
Like I've been arrested 8 times. I'm from
Yeah.
Florida. I don't like telling people I'm from Florida because then we tell, and they're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is happening?
Dude, but a lot of comics are coke fiends.
Oh yeah.
You'll see a ton of them. Yeah.
You'd be shocked at so it's I'm around a lot of that environment just in the restaurant I work in. It's really
Yeah.
swanky and stuff, and so I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
To quote Bane, I am initiated. So it is interesting. Some of the comics you would never guess. I mean, I guess you could guess, but you'd just from their body type or
Yeah.
like their like overall vibe.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think they're Coke people, and they're Coke people.
Are you completely different off of coke and on?
Yeah.
Like you could be a totally relaxed person, and then once you're on coke, it's just
100. I mean, in my experience, that's been my experience every time.
yeah.
As you start grinding your teeth, and we should start a business.
Because that's the only insight I have into coke is just Joey Diaz's like coke stories throughout the years.
Yeah,
And
because you're a big podcast
crazy.
fan. Yeah, you're definitely a totally different person.
Yeah.
I mean, Joey Diaz, who's the loving father and like goes
Yeah.
to jiu-jitsu and does swimming and all this kind of stuff. That's the same guy who kidnaps someone at gunpoint.
You
Like,
beat someone
he's-
with a pipe. And
Yeah, like that's the same guy. And I mean, I know from personal experience. Like I said, if when you first met me, I'm sure you would never guess. I've been arrested 8 times.
Yeah.
I've taken a knife to my forehead in a fight. I've cut myself. I've gotten in plenty of fights. Like
Yeah.
I talk about it on stage, putting my head through a guy's window because
Yeah.
he was flirting with my sister. Like
Yeah.
it makes you do different things.
So then why did you get started with drugs?
Well, that's a whole other thing. Long story short, I've had horrific anxiety and depression my entire life,
Yeah.
and alcohol was a way to calm that,
Yeah.
and then cocaine and other drugs was a way to amplify that feeling of good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I mean, it's a typical addict story.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, this feels good, more must be better, and then
More-
too much is
and
like,
way
oh,
too-
fuck.
overboard.
So you mentioned the first time you drank was when you were 20.
Yeah, first time I drank was when I was 20. We had a
This is at Elon?
no, this one's at Cal Poly.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so this is at Cal Poly. It was our soccer team formal,
Okay.
and my teammates knew I didn't drink, and I was like, all right, I'm around
Were
my
you proud
teammates.
of that?
That what?
That you didn't drink? Were you like? Did you wear it as like a badge of honor?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't drink in college, everyone just calls you a pussy.
Yeah, well, because I talked about this.
Yeah.
I hate to keep bringing him up, but on the Joe List episode, we talked about this because I was straight edge all through high school, and
Yeah.
everyone knew I didn't drink. And
Yeah.
I told him in Florida, everyone would just be like, "Oh, you're a little," and he was the same way, where he saw what drinking did to his family, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm not going to drink."
Uh-huh.
And then, so like people just knew
Yeah.
that. So for you, like in college, everyone just knew Zach didn't drink.
Yeah, people knew I didn't drink, and it wasn't. It wasn't like I hated it or whatever.
No,
I
you're just
didn't.
better than them.
Exactly. I am better than them in every way, and that's what I want your listeners to know. Okay, I want you all to know.
As,
Everyone listening.
as Zach Vandergriff says, "Clip it." That's the clip. Clip it.
No, but yeah, I mean, you go to parties and it's like, if you're not drinking immediately, the first word that comes out of their mouth is pussy.
Yeah.
Immediately. But this was our soccer team formal. I was comfortable. It was just my teammates, their dates, and then my girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so
This is a different girlfriend. than
different
Connecticut.
girlfriend. Yeah, this is a different girl. You know me. Like I said, I'm better than all of you. No, but so it was a soccer team form. I was really comfortable. I loved my teammates, and I was like, all right, I'm cool in this environment. Nothing bad's gonna happen. I'm gonna drink. Turns out something bad happened. Yeah, turns out something really bad happened. So I didn't drink for another year after it. But
What happened? Can you talk about it?
Yeah,
Or
of
is
course,
it
of course.
Like one of those legal things.
No, it was a Christmas formal, and so it was in our soccer team house. We lined the walls with wrapping paper, like Christmas theme, whatever it
No,
was.
that's awesome. Yeah.
And I had this one friend from Louisiana who was on the team, got hurt, messed his meniscus up. He just couldn't really come back, but he was still really close with the team, and so he would come to all the parties. He was invited to the formal and whatnot. And he knew I was drinking that night, so his goal was to like make it the worst night of my life of drinking, right?
God.
And so I'd never been drunk
Hey, you
before.
guys know how Zach doesn't drink? Yeah. Let's make him remember why.
Yeah, check this out. And then
Hold my beer.
so it was first like, easy shots, whatever, and then I started feeling pretty hammered. And then he made these things.
Hang on. What is your experience? Because you're old enough to remember. Like I have guests on that started drinking when they were like 12, so they
Yeah.
don't really remember. What is your experience like? Seeing everybody drink all the time, not understanding why everybody drinks, but being like, I don't do that. Now at 20 years old, you're drinking for the first time. What is like? Are you like, this is awesome, or like this feels great, or I feel great, or this is terrible, like I feel sick? Like what's going through your head as you start drinking?
The weird thing about starting to drink is like your entire life, your mind is almost, it's yours.
Yeah.
When you start drinking, the first thing I remember noticing is I would move this way, and then whatever I was looking at followed by like a half second.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, this is kind of like, you're more relaxed.
little
This is
trippy,
kind of
yeah.
cool. And then, I mean, you don't know what your tolerance is when you first start
Yeah.
drinking. Like, it's low, but you're not, like, I wasn't in the drinking culture. So it was like, I didn't really know what tolerance even was.
Yeah.
And then, so took a few shots. It was all fine. It was great. They had Fireball. They were giving me, and it wasn't like, no one told me, oh, stick to one kind of liquor. It was like, let's do all of them.
No one's giving you any
Yeah,
kind of advice.
it's like, let's have fun. And so, it was Fireball, then tequila. It was just everything. And then
This is my nightmare.
yeah. And then it was straight alcohol at first. And then that's later in the night, got into mixed drinks. And so my friend from Louisiana started making these things called lunch boxes, which I'd never heard of ever.
not
right?
heard of that.
I've heard of some mixed drinks, but it was like it was like orange juice, Captain Morgan, and then some other stuff. And it didn't taste like that much alcohol, but he wanted to fuck me up. And so he gave me 2 of those, and I finished them because I didn't realize I didn't register in my head. Oh, you finish these quick, it's gonna hit you. I was just like,
you
yeah,
gotta
let's
wait
finish
like
it.
30
Tastes like
minutes.
shit. Let's just
Yeah.
finish it. So I finished it, and there's some chicks in the bathroom doing coke and whatnot. Classic college, and
Actually, Zach, a lot of people would say that's not classic college, but
it is.
yeah, it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so there was these. Meanwhile, my date's like making best friends with my friend from Louisiana's date in the bathroom, and I
wonder what brings people together in the bathroom.
Yeah, a little bit of sugar, and I were in the bathroom, dude. I just yacked everywhere.
So did you feel it coming? Were you like, what's going on? Or
I was like, it hit me like maybe like 10 minutes after I finished those lunch boxes.
so you finished the second one, and you're like,
Finished
all
the second
right,
one,
I guess, and
and
then
I
you're
was-
just like,
bomb. And I don't remember a lot of the night. It was a lot of fill-in from
Yeah.
my girlfriend at the time. And so
she remembers.
Yeah, she remembers.
She was fucking.
She was fine.
she
She
was on
wasn't
it.
that hammered because she wanted to make sure I
She
was okay.
on it.
Yeah.
She was ready to go,
And so she
like a hawk watching everything.
No, she had it locked down. Also, probably because she wanted to make sure other girls weren't trying anything.
Yeah.
But
With your lifeless body.
yeah, exactly. Just out on the
So
floor.
you're just throwing up everywhere.
throwing up in the bathroom. She's like, all right, he needs to go home. And this was it was towards the end of the night, so some of my buddies came home with me too.
Yeah.
Some of my roommates. And we get back, and I don't remember walking back. I don't remember any of that. The next thing I remember is I'm on the toilet taking a shit naked, fully naked. And my friend is taking care of me. Not even my girlfriend. My girlfriend's like in another room doing something. One of my friends is taking care of me. I like come back to it and like the fire alarm's going off. I have no idea what's going on, right? And my friend was trying to keep my girlfriend from going to the bathroom. She's like, you do not need to see him like this.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, let me see it. I'm just fully naked, sitting on the toilet, just blacked out. And so I don't remember getting back into bed, fell asleep, woke up the next morning. And so the cops came to our room because my friend had the fire alarm going because he made too much ramen or something.
Oh my god.
And so everyone in the apartment was hammered. But
Yeah.
like we're in our apartment, the cops aren't going to do it. We're all 20 for the most part, 21. I was 20, but
Yeah. But you're passed out in your room, like
yeah, they have no idea I'm there.
Yeah.
And so they were just like putting them off like that. And I woke up with like I didn't know you could feel like that. I didn't know that was an option, you know? And then so for the next entire year, I didn't take a sip of alcohol.
I had Colin Chamberlain on the show, and he said, "This is what you're describing is
Yeah.
probably one of the best ways I've ever heard it put." He said, very funny comic. He goes, "I drank an entire like bottle of Svedka,
yeah.
and I woke up the next morning, and I thought to myself, I would rather die than continue to feel like this."
Yeah, exactly.
Like I would rather someone walk in here and just kill me.
Yeah,
because
just pass away.
You had no idea you could feel like that shitty.
yeah, because it's not an option up until you start drinking.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, I felt shitty before
So-
sick or whatever.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. But when you woke up the next day, you were like, I think I'm gonna die.
Yeah, it was like your brain and your head like weren't on this-
Connected.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was nuts.
How long did it take for you to bounce back from that hangover? Like a day or two?
Yeah, probably like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And
Because I mean, people say this all the time. They're like, "Oh, well, when you're young, you bounce right back." In my experience, I don't know why, but in my experience, I would wake up, and a lot of times it's because I would give myself like minor alcohol. I've given myself
Yeah.
major alcohol poisoning 3 times, but like a lot of times I'd be like on that teetering on that line. You have no idea. But I say that to be like, dude, in my 20s, I'd wake up with fucking gnarly hangovers every day.
Yeah.
And then I would just do a shot or two in the morning
You
to
get used
rid
to
of
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, you're like, I never want to feel like this. So you didn't drink again for a whole nother year.
For an entire year, I didn't drink until I was even on my 21st birthday when I turned 21. I didn't drink.
So you waited till the formal the next year?
I waited till what was the next time I honestly don't remember the exact next time I drank because that from then on it was like, all right, I'll drink on the weekends.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you started drinking, and then you're like, oh, this is a thing that I do.
Yeah, now it's like we go out to party, and then I soon realized my problem. I can't have like one drink.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of problem between. Yeah, there you go. You know,
Do I know?
this is more than just drinks though.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of things that coincide between athletes and addicts.
Yeah.
Because
Big
you
time.
have to have.
You have to go all in.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. And
Yeah.
same thing with comedy. It's like we were talking about like 8 months in, you're like, oh, I need to fucking, if we're gonna do
Yeah.
this, we're gonna crank it up.
Exactly.
So it's a similar thing where it's like, yeah, like if I have no desire to drink today, but if I walked out of this room and I was like, I'm gonna have a drink, it's like, why would I have a drink? Like if I'm gonna
Yeah.
drink, I'm gonna get fucked up.
You have.
Like,
There's a point. There's
yeah,
a mind
It's like,
altering.
Why? Yeah,
liquid.
why would I?
Yeah.
So then you started drinking. What happened with the spring break story? That's the last one I wanted to get into.
Oh, so that was when I was at Elon. So I didn't
Okay.
know Florida was a spring break destination until I got to the East Coast.
Gang, gang, baby.
Yeah, I had no idea. And so we get to the East Coast, and
So
I'm starting to.
the soccer formal that was at Elon as well, correct?
Soccer firm was at Cal Poly.
Okay, you
yeah.
did say that.
And
All right, yeah.
I transferred.
Because you said 2 years in, so I keep thinking when you're 20, you're at Elon, but you were a year.
Yeah, because I took a
ahead.
gap.
Yeah,
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 so I
yeah.
took a gap year. And then transferred to Elon, and I wanted to let the guys know that I'm down for a good time.
Yeah.
Right. So the first party we went to, whatever, I killed a bottle of Barefoot wine.
And this is in Florida?
This is in Elon. This is at Elon.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
leading up to the Florida
yeah.
stuff, and it was the first party at Elon, and it was fun. Gnarly hangover.
Yeah, wine is all
wine will
sugar,
just
dude.
destroy you.
Yeah.
And so then they were like, all right, this guy's fun. Let's bring him to Florida.
The new guy's here, baby.
Yeah, we're having
Let's
a good
go.
time, dude. We're having a good time.
As Dusty Slay says, we're having a good time.
Yeah. And little did they know I can't
You can't hang.
hang at all. And the
You were just like, it's the same thing you were talking about sending your fucking film
Yeah.
to recruit. You're like, I can hang, guys.
Come
I
on.
can hang.
look at it. I
Watch
got
this film.
I got this. Yeah.
Chug a bottle of wine. You're like, see?
See, I'm
hanging.
hammered. Yep, it was a good time. But yeah, so I did that, and I didn't drink too much like while I was when I first got there, because it's like you're leaving all your best friends at Cal
Yeah.
Poly, and so I didn't feel like I fit in. But I went out whatever the first night, had a good time, and then went to Florida with them. And went to Florida when COVID was starting, so mid
As a person
Florida.
from Florida, I'm going to say, what's COVID?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing is when it first came about, they were like, "I know what COVID is. COVID's you going home."
Yeah.
And so we get there, and it was like a pretty shitty hotel. It was me and 3 of my European teammates, so a kid from Germany and 2 kids from Denmark. And the kid from Germany was like 6'4", could have looked like
Yeah,
a
you
tight
said
end.
kid from Germany.
Yeah,
We got it.
enormous. And I've never seen a human be able to consume alcohol like this guy.
Yeah.
And so immediately we get there, whatever, start drinking and whatnot. And it's probably like the second day we met these girls on the beach, and they were probably, I don't know, I was 21 because that's when I transferred. They were probably 21, 22. And my roommate Peter, he's like, German people, girls are just attracted to this dude. He's like
Yeah.
6'4", blue eyes, German guy. And
Again, they fought a whole war over that look.
yeah, big time.
time.
And the girl that
We're all familiar.
Yeah. There's probably, I think there was like 3 or 4 girls in that group. Peter, my buddy had been talking to one of them. And so we go back to our hotel, and we're all just hanging out, and my teammate and this girl are laying in bed. And me and my other 2 teammates are just like talking to these girls, and we like look over.
And are you drinking?
Yeah, we're drinking. We're hammered. We're all plastic. And we were on the beach, sun, like you
Yeah.
just dehydrate, just
you're
done.
Fucked up.
And like the next day is going to be the worst thing ever. And you're only consumed like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that day. It's nothing. And we look over and we see it. My teammate like slightly moving his hips, right? Just like barely moving his while he's spooning this girl in bed.
Yeah.
And so we look over and it's like he's trying not to make noise, but we hear like a tiny creak in the bed, and everyone just looks over, and he's like slightly moving his hips.
So he was.
And we're like, no fucking way. And so my friend from Denmark, who's just blacked out, goes over and rips the covers off.
No.
Fully fucking, dude.
So he's having sex with this girl in front of his 3 friends.
in front of his 3 friends. He thought we just weren't gonna notice, right? And it was making like the slight, like the funniest image ever is watching somebody trying to fuck soft,
Yeah.
like softly trying not to make
Yeah.
any noise, like you're like grandparents' house or something. And so he was doing that, but with us around, and immediately ripped off the covers, and we just all died laughing.
Yeah, I would
We're
be like, "Are you fucking
you
kidding me?"
tried this, dude?
What did he say?
He didn't stop.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
He was like, guys, come on, and then he pulled the covers back and just kept soft. He didn't stop. And we were all fucking just dying laughing. We're like, all right, dude, we're just gonna go to the pool, man.
So you
Do
just
your
left?
thing. Yeah, we just
Yeah.
went to the pool.
God, man.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, that was fun, man. Thanks for coming on.
No, dude, it was a ton of fun. I
Yeah.
appreciate you having me.
We got to have you
this is a
back
good
on
time.
eventually. 'cause
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
sent me a bunch of stories, and we only got to like 3 or 4 of them. So.
I know. I got some good drinking stories.
Plug everything one more time. Plug the show. Plug your social media. The whole deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got a show coming up probably mid-August called Thin Crust Comedy. We're looking at a few venues right now, but follow me on Instagram, Zach_DiDonato. That's where I'll post all the stuff for Thin Crust, and then also on TikTok, Zach_DiDonato. But Brendan, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for
I
coming
appreciate
out,
it.
man.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, everybody, so much for listening at Brendan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Check out the website. I got dates coming up at Greenwich Village. I'll be in Philly in October, so check it out. BrennanTComedy.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Peace.
Oh.
Hell yeah.